You will own nothing, and you will be happy. What up, everybody? It's RK Future. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about all the news that is the gaming industry right now, and the big story that I'm sure you all have heard a lot about is that PlayStation is killing discs in 2028. They are no longer doing physical games, they are only doing digital games going forward, and rightfully so. A lot of people in the community are quite pissed off about this. Um, I mean, it just is not a good idea or a good feeling for the consumer that they only can buy games digitally. They don't even have the option to purchase the game physically. And for this to be a widespread change starting 2028 is pretty rough. I think that the goal here from PlayStation's perspective is to basically usher in the new gamers, like the Roblox players, the Minecraft players, usher them into this new world as they get older and making sure that they're serving that community moving forward. You know, I think for the people who are a little bit older, who have been gaming since the 90s and the 80s, we are obviously going to be more pissed about that, right? But for the younger kids, by the time the people who are like 8 and 9 and 10 years old, when they get older, I'm willing to guess that a lot of them will not care as much. As far as I know, there's no physical copies of Roblox. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest games in the world, right? Maybe there's no physical games of Minecraft either. You guys can let me know in the comments, like what the situation is for that. But we know that most of the games that young people play are mostly digital only, and younger people care less about discs. I think that's probably the big reason for the change, not to mention all the other monetary reasons and financial reasons for PlayStation to make this change, but just from a strategic angle, they really want to serve the future of gamers in a way that is also in alignment with their long-term goals financially, right? But before I get into that deeper, I want to talk about GTA 6 first, and then we'll get into this PlayStation news, and then we'll talk about the solution and what we need to do about it, right? So if you like this type of video, if you like the format, I'm going to show some footage of different games here that I've been capturing. All the gameplay is me, and just buckle your seatbelts, get a snack, right? We're going to talk about this for a little bit, and let me know if you like and subscribe if you agree. If you don't agree, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. So first, GTA 6, right? GTA 6 is testing price elasticity, right? What do I mean by that? I mean that they're basically driving a premium price for GTA 6 because of hype. No gameplay footage has been released for this game yet, right? But they're already taking pre-orders for a game that's not going to have physical copies. And as far as I know, they took pre-orders first, and then later said, "Oh, we're not going to do physical copies of this game, at least initially," right? So it's more about all the hype of the game, all the pre-orders of the game, all the things that we imagine we can do in GTA 6, but not actually about the gameplay itself or the promises of that gameplay, right? Because like I said, people are already pre-ordering the game at a higher price without a disc and without footage of a game that actually exists. So people are effectively buying hype at this point. And I think that this is going to make a big change for the entire gaming industry. Even other games that we think typically wouldn't do that, they probably will start doing stuff like that, right? Like, taking the pre-orders, not showing any gameplay footage, waiting until the last minute to reveal gameplay footage, focusing more on hype rather than a quality game, right? A lot of different things like that. But I think that GTA 6 is going to be like the next phase of gaming where we want to play physical games. We want to play games where we know what we're buying ahead of time, right? But GTA 6 is saying, no, we want you to pay a higher price for the game, and you're not going to see the footage, and you're going to like it, right? You're not going to even own the game, right? At least initially. And I think that that is, a sign to the broader gaming community that, oh, we can do games like this. If you look at Overwatch, if you look at Fortnite, if you look at these games that sort of pioneered battle passes or pioneered microtransactions, like, they set the groundwork, they set the trend for the rest of the gaming industry to say, oh, why don't we have a battle pass? Why don't we have a hero shooter? Why don't we have microtransactions for a bunch of stuff? And I've been saying this a lot lately, that when I see a game, I'm not even hype about it really from the core gameplay perspective. I'm more concerned about how will they treat the game and the community and the updates moving forward, not just the core gameplay, right? Like what is the microtransactions? What is the in-store ecosystem going to look like for the game? And I think that GTA 6 is probably Maybe it has great gameplay. Maybe it has great graphics. Maybe it's going to be an awesome game. But the question that we're all waiting for, I think, are two things that I think really can affect how this game is received and how it's talked about online. And that is one, the microtransactions. That's the first thing, right? How much stuff will people have to pay for in addition to the higher price tag that is GTA 6? And two is the narrative and the storyline. What narratives, what messaging will be pushed in this particular GTA game? This is more than likely going to be the biggest GTA game ever, the most popular GTA game. What messaging are they going to be putting in this game narrative wise? I think it matters in an era where things have to be very politically correct, or things are very politically sensitive, or whatever, right? How are they going to handle, their narrative, dealing with a game that is so controversial typically? So those are the two things that we are mostly concerned about with GTA 6, right? Not the gameplay itself, but everything else revolving around the gameplay that will either make gamers want to come back and play it or make them not want to play it, right? Will they have some like gambling mechanics in GTA 6? We already know like gambling platforms like Stake and stuff like that are super popular. Is that also going to be a part of GTA 6, right, in some capacity, and to what extent, right? So anyway, we're really interested to see what innovations GTA 6 has in relationship to in-game purchases. So let's see what happens there. If we were to guess, like if we were to assume what's going to happen with this game, it's likely going to be predatory, right? In the sense of trying to get every single cent out of players who are addicted to the gameplay loop, right? Let's move on now, though. Let's talk a little bit about digital game experiences and digital gaming, right? I think digital gaming is actually pretty cool. Like, have an Xbox Series S. Sometimes I play on Steam. Downloading games as soon as you think of it or as soon as it goes on sale is a pretty cool experience, right? I think that Xbox Series S is probably the best console for most gamers anyway. I'm talking about the masses of people, not the true gaming enthusiasts and hardcore people, right? Even though I think the Xbox Series S serves them as well, it has no disc drive. And I think that it's a great console for people, like I said, who just want to play, get in, get out, move on with their lives, don't have to worry about managing a library physically. But for those who are actually hardcore gamers, gaming historians, and the people who really collect games, these are the people with the voices online because they actually care about games. They collect games. They keep games. They study games closely. These are the content creators. These are the type of people who actually have a gaming collection. These people, I don't think they're the majority, but they are very loud and they have a right to be, right? They actually promote games. They actually care about games. They tell people to play other games. They review games. These people are the people who are a major part of the gaming buying ecosystem. And when they are pissed off because you don't want them to own their own game physically, there could be a lot of problems with that. And there are a lot of problems with that. I think that ultimately people should be playing consoles that allow you to play the physical game, right? I think people need to go back and play some of the older games. Honestly, I think that the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360, Sega Dreamcast, even the Super Nintendo are just a few of the incredible consoles with thousands and thousands of games on them. PS1, the first PlayStation, that we have not talked about enough, that we have not studied enough, that don't have microtransactions, that have responsive gameplay and responsive mechanics, and they're deep with great storylines. Some of these older games are better than the newer games coming out. And guess what? They're super cheap now in most cases, right? Or you could emulate them, right? Or you can just, play the game the way you want to play it. You don't have to purchase all the in transaction stuff, right? So that's my solution to the thing is like, how do we get around this, or what's the solution? I think people need to, one, make their own games, perhaps make special edition versions of great games and put them on discs, which I think will happen anyway. I don't think gaming discs are completely going away just because PlayStation and Xbox have been trying to move consumers to digital. I don't think that's the case. I think that there very likely could be a return of these CDs of games. And also on top of that, I think that people should just be playing games that they can own, right? If that is a big deal to you, I think that playing games that you own are making the majority of your game library, games that you physically own, is going to be more fulfilling in the long run, right? That's what I believe. I think that I just been playing Devil May Cry 3 recently and Ninja Gaiden Black recently. The games are incredible, right? These are old games. These are games that are like, 10, 20 years old in some cases. Go back and play those. I think that's the solution. And of course, it's a little bit dystopian that we're in an era where people are, basically, encouraged to not own physical games, right? If we look at it from a more like utopian perspective, I could see where not having physical games is actually a good thing because you're not producing more waste and you're not using more plastic and you don't have manufacturing costs. But it's not so clean cut, right? There are jobs associated with manufacturing. There is liberty in actually owning products. It's not so clear cut that, oh, if we reduce waste or we reduce the physical product, we reduce waste, therefore it is a net good. It's a greater benefit because it's just not that clear cut. If the PlayStation Store or whoever just says, oh, you don't own this game anymore, that's a problem, and that's apparently been happening with a lot of TV shows and movies that Sony lost the rights to. So now they're just pulling it from people's libraries, even though you've already purchased it. And I think this happened with Xbox a few years ago too. It probably still happens. It's just a mess. Like I said, I think the solution is like let your voice be known, let your opinion be known, and buy games that you can physically own. But let me know what you think. I feel like a lot of people have already said a lot on this topic that seems pretty obvious, right? They want control, they want ownership, they want to increase the friction between you and the game experience itself so that way you're dependent on its digital ecosystem. But what do you think? I mean, do you think that digital is okay? How many games do you actually have physically? Are you still collecting games? Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.